Hello, everyone. Saeed here from NextStars. Very pleased to have Faruk here today with us in the office. Thanks so much for coming, Faruk.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is the third session that Faruk and I are doing. The past two was virtual, but today, yeah, it's amazing to finally meet in person.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you.
coming.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Of course.
Happy to
So,
be here.
of course. And so today, we want to have a kind of a fun and engaging conversation about a very serious topic about the provincial business immigration nominee programs. And but I kind of want to start with just to get to know you a little bit, like Farouk. Now that we are finally meeting in person, how did you got into this? How did you get into this? And what makes you so passionate about
Mhm.
immigration?
Yeah, I'm an immigrant myself in Canada. I was a lawyer in Turkey as well, and then when I immigrated to Canada, I did my masters and then got into the Law Society of Ontario. And as you know, the journey is like you do your bar exams and everything, and then the articling, which is like legal internship. And I worked at one of the most reputable business immigration law firms. And since then, I've been doing this. It's been over 4 years. I've worked with so many international entrepreneurs in different industries. Um, and they applied through federal or provincial programs and got their permanent residency. Some of them already got their citizenships.
Wonderful.
So yeah,
That's
this is where
amazing.
my passion is.
Also, how do you compare the Turkish system versus the Canadian from a legal perspective? Do you find more similarities, or did you had to completely rethink your legal
Hmm.
framework
Hmm.
basically when you moved
Um,
to Canada?
no, not really. Yeah, I mean, Turkey's legal system is pretty solid too. It's very similar to Europe, and the legal system in Canada is also very similar to Europe. There are some differences for sure. I would say, as a business, as a market, Turkey is a bit more mature, let's say. But Canada is getting there. It's a growing economy. Actually, as for economies, probably Canada is
Oh
much
yeah,
better. But
I think
um,
yes, Canada is part of the G7.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But in terms of how we do business here, Turkey is a bit more competitive, a bit faster, a bit vibrant. But yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I think, when we talk about business immigration, obviously, the target client is people that have entrepreneurial experience in other markets, and that's what I love about doing what I do in at NextStars, because we get to hear the different stories from people from all over the world, and we get to learn about how they do things differently, and our job really here is to find them the best pathway to recreate that success they had in their home market in Canada. Well, with all the opportunities that the country has for newcomers, but also some of the limitations that inevitably comes with being kind of an outsider, to a market. So tell me, Farouk, when you consult with clients that come to you, how do you decide if a provincial business immigration path is a viable path for them?
Yeah, so obviously during our consultations we ask a lot of clients, a lot of questions to our clients. Um, but basically, um, it depends on the following. So, for example, sorry, first of all, which industry they want to invest in, what kind of business they've been doing so far, and the which sector they want to get into in North America, in Canada. If if they are only focused on doing business in Ontario, and that's what I'm seeing in a lot of applicants, that they want to build their business in Toronto. Obviously, it's a financial center
Yeah.
of our country. So if that's the case, then we can only talk about federal business immigration programs, because Ontario did have a provincial business immigration program a few years ago, and then they first put a pause on it, and then eventually they canceled it. But I heard from you that they are there are some talks that the province is planning to bring it back. We don't know.
Yes, I've just also heard as well, and it only makes sense because the trend I see in immigration is that it's moving more towards the provincial
Hmm.
programs, and it only makes sense because each province would know like better
Their
what,
needs.
yeah, what type of immigrants they need, what type of capital or businesses would work better there. So, and as you mentioned, in many of the federal programs, the applicants end up either in the hotspots, in Toronto or Vancouver, this kind of makes the other provinces feel a little bit left out, if that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly.
Which shouldn't be the case. Yeah, there are amazing opportunities, in every province, and not one size fits all, right?
No,
So.
I mean, it can
Yeah.
even be argued that Toronto is very competitive. There are already very big players
Exactly.
in Ontario in general. So it might be wise to go and try and build your business in another province and grow. And then once you deal with the permanent residency immigration journey, you might just open up another branch in Toronto,
Yeah.
maybe keep both. Yeah, there might be various scenarios.
Absolutely. So what you basically look at, you mentioned Farooq is the industry, which is very important. There are certain industries that are more developed in, like, let's say Alberta compared to Ontario. Obviously, oil and gas is one. In BC as well, like, or an Atlantic fishery is big. Energy is big. You'd be actually surprised. I advise everyone to check out our LinkedIn page. We've started this kind of series called the Star of Titan. We
Mm-hmm.
profile the billion-dollar companies of Canada, and you'd be surprised. Like, many of them, I would say most of them are not in Ontario or Toronto. There are a lot in New Brunswick, in Nova Scotia, in Alberta, a ton. Obviously natural resources is big, but yeah, the Quebec has a lot of really good
Tech
businesses. Yeah,
tech industry
yeah,
is huge. Yeah.
it's really really vibrant. So industry is one aspect, but what else do you look at? Is it age? Is it do people usually come to you and tell you, Farouk, I know where I'm going,
Hmm.
or is it a decision that you make for them
Hmm.
or in
Hmm.
collaboration with them?
Hmm. It depends. Some clients do really know what they want to do, which industry they want to get into, which problems they want to settle in.
Mhm.
But some clients, they have some problems in their home country. It's either politic or some business problems, or they don't have any problems and they just want to expand. They want to
Yes.
grow their business. And we know actually lately everybody knows that US doesn't actually have very friendly immigration policies.
Yes.
And if you want to do business in North America, even in US, it's a bit hard to get into, but
Yeah.
so they want to step into Canada first, and then it's already easy to do business with US from
Yeah.
Canada. You can do business in Canada and ship your products to US as
Of
well.
course.
So some of them need guidance. It doesn't mean that I decide on behalf of them which province they should choose. I can just share the knowledge and experience I have because I don't think there's any industry left that I haven't worked with. So we obviously we do have some good experience with my clients in some provinces and bad experience in some provinces, like bureaucracy, blah blah. But I can we usually give that decision in collaboration with clients.
Of course.
And my clients are usually I do have some young entrepreneurs that I help with, but they're usually I would say 45 plus.
Yeah.
They want to do business here, obviously. There's no doubt, but obviously these people are wealthy and they want to live a good life. They have children.
Yeah.
Um, so they actually take their time to after our consultation and maybe a follow-up meeting, and they take their time to decide which province does it really make sense for me and for my family. Obviously, the family, they have this discussion with the family, with the children. They think about the universities, their children's future, etc. Yeah, these factors come into play for sure.
Then that's what's interesting, to be honest, about immigration is that it's such a multifaceted, process, and I think it's very hard to understand an immigrant without really stepping foot in their shoes. We often see people as numbers, but you think about it, an immigrant has a family, has kids, has children, aspirations. And as I understand, the provincial pathway, it's like a little bit of a longer term commitment, right? So they really have to commit like a certain amount of time to the province and be very serious about like relocating and being, yeah, reside from the like out of the province, do the business, and also live with the family in the province. How long that journey takes typically in your experience,
Mhm.
and how much of a factor is that when it comes to like versus the type of business they do, they uh like come with a sense of rigidity when you discuss it with them? Do they take it seriously? Well, obviously it's serious. Like maybe 20, 30 years ago, it could be the case that people landed in a certain province and moved out, but it's now it doesn't work, even for a PR purposes. So yeah, like I'm just out of curiosity, how much of a commitment are we talking about?
Um, so it depends. So let me talk about the overview of the
Of
process
course.
first. So and luckily the process looks almost the same for all provinces. So
Streamlined, yeah.
except Ontario, most provinces do have these programs. Mainly British Columbia, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. Almost all of them have it, and the process is very similar. It's not identical, but it's very similar. So first, you register your business proposal. The process starts with this proposal, but it's not a simple registration. You really have to talk about your plan. So before we even initiate the process, there's a background that takes 1 or 2 months. We talk with the clients. We try to understand what they need to do, and then we consider if we need to get help
Yeah.
from the local partners or business advisors, etc. So once we understand what they want to do, and then once there is a standalone plan that we can follow, even after the business proposal, we initiate the process. And then the if the applicant is out of the country, if province approves the business proposal, applicants are issued a letter of support so they can go and submit a work permit application to IRCC, Immigration Canada.
But that would be LMI exempt, right?
That will be LMA exam. Some provinces even offer open work permits.
Okay, got it.
Once they submit this application and once they receive it, they are expected to arrive in the province
Mhm.
and start building their business. So, depending on their business plan, if, for example, if they're purchasing an existing business, it's probably quicker because they're gonna close the deal and start the
I
renovation.
have a question about that actually, if that's okay.
For sure.
So, because many of my clients are asking, if they're outside of Canada, this process from putting together a business proposal, doing the net worth evaluation, filling out the paperwork, submitting an EUI, and getting the letter of support, applying for a work permit, depending on the country that they're applying from, it can take anywhere from a couple of months to more than that,
Yeah.
sometimes even like over a year for processing. So they're asking me, like, what if I want to buy this business for $1.5 million, and they want to do the due diligence? Like, no one's gonna wait a year and a half for me to come and purchase it. So, is there a possibility for people to put together a business proposal, with to start a business with their own funds, and
Mhm.
then enter the province with a work permit, and then really start the search to buy a business in within maybe the same industry, would that be permittable by the province?
Depends, but it's certainly possible. You don't really need to come up with a specific business. Okay, I'm gonna buy this X business or Y Z. Like it doesn't have to be like that, but you have to be as specific as possible. This is the industry I want to invest in. If it's a small business, just talk about what that business would do, what are your requirements, etc. And maybe show some businesses, for example, it doesn't mean that you're going to purchase that business because you gave it
Ah,
as an example,
mhm.
but you could just say, it could be a business like this. This is what I have in mind.
I see, I see, I
Yeah.
see.
But even, let's say, the due diligence, let's say they want to purchase a business that, let's say, costs 250K, $300.
Yeah.
Um, the due diligence doesn't take too long. We kind of manage the process in a way that we are being proactive. For example, if obviously they need to do the due diligence really saves a lot of,
Course.
eliminates risks, etc., and protect our clients. And then we can just work with a local corporate lawyer to
Yeah.
initiate the process if there's a specific business.
Yeah.
And then once they arrive, the province doesn't, for example, most provinces expect clients to arrive in the province from 30 to 90 days.
Yeah.
After that, they give them approximately up to 9 months to really decide and
Yes.
initiate their business ownership journey. They're not expected to do everything in a rush. So there is time, and usually it takes much less than this. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
even
of
take that.
course. Like the due diligence, if but the uncertainty is something that a lot of the business owners that might want to sell probably can't live with it, because I've been thinking about getting proactive for our clients, and maybe for next stars to you know purchase the business or write the check and then hold it for the client, operate it, hold. But many provinces have the rule that the business has to be in operation for 3 years, or so really that transaction has to happen between the entrepreneur and the business owner that's looking to exit, right? So that I was just like always struggled a little bit how to make like strike the balance, between and particularly if the deal is a little bit of a larger amount, like we had just this client that we've been kind of like talking about the manufacturing kind of play in construction supply chain, and his budget is like 1.5, and to me that necessarily is not a bad thing, because that business is solid, and that business is gonna be around, for this period, and it's in line with what he's doing already. It's basically a replica of that, and he would know, and he would immediately gain the respect of employees as well. But yeah, so it's possible. Like we have 9 months from the time that the client lands at the province, and which I assume they have to write a letter, right? That hey, we arrived. This is my
They
address.
have to
Blah, blah,
inform
yeah,
the province.
exactly. And after that, they have 9 months to really decide the details.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And take tangible steps, like now you're purchasing the business, or if you're gonna build your own business from scratch,
Mhm.
which is also possible. You can just rent a commercial property, renovate it, get the equipment, and even when you do it from scratch, if the project is not too large, like 1.5 million project probably requires a lot of
Yeah.
research and things to do in advance. But if it's not that long, usually everything is done, I would say, under 5 months.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
So then after this 5 months, I start and I let the province know that this is what I'm starting, blah blah blah. So then after 9 months to a year from the start of the business, I can apply for a nomination.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. But there are a few things that applicants should know, and there are a few things that they need to be careful during this 9 month period. First of all, there are some requirements depending on the province, but almost all of them require the applicants to hire at least one permanent
Yes.
resident or Canadian citizen for their business. That's for sure. Other than that, they have to see genuine efforts that you're building your business. It's operational, and that's why. And there are some performance reviews that we do on behalf of the clients to the province to keep them posted. This is what happened. There is no revenue
Yeah.
you don't have to guarantee a revenue.
No, of
Let's
course.
say you don't. It will be against the business norms.
Yes.
No business owner would know how much money they're going to make
Yeah.
in the coming 6 months, or they can't guarantee at least. But you have to show the expenses you made, which count towards the eventual investment requirement of that province. Let's say if it's 150, let's say for New Brunswick it's 150K, for British Columbia it's 250K. So this is one important aspect. Another one is almost all provinces mention this, that they might do in person
Of course.
visits to your business to have an interview with you to see how things are going. This doesn't mean that they're gonna. It's not just inspection purposes, but they just want to also visit you, welcome you
Of
to the
course.
province.
Of course.
It's not like as scary as it sounds, but they have to
But
see
something to think
how
about,
things are going
right?
for
Something to
sure.
think about is that, you really have to be there, and it has to be convincible, by the officer from the
Yeah.
province that this is a genuine business that's happening. And like Farouk mentioned, I agree with you. Like revenue, what and the result, it's out of our hand, but the effort is within our control.
Exactly. And
Uh,
they want to see that.
of course. And then how much of a flexibility is there in terms of, working out like special, how can I say, arrangements with the clients? For example, I had a client that wanted to do this, and then like they had a death in the family, or
Mm.
something unexpected. Is there understanding on the province side, if they with their legal representative draft something and let the province know, you know?
So there definitely is a flexibility to it, and these programs are not like personal immigration programs. If our audience want to check, if you check personal immigration, for example, PMPs, for like international students, foreign workers, they are very rigid about those programs. They have specific requirements. You have to graduate from this level of higher education. You have to have a certain amount of English skills, etc., etc. And you can't play with it. There is no flexibility to it. But business immigration programs, they're not that strict about those. There is some flexibility because business doesn't work like that, right? There are a lot of uncertainties. There might be a sudden change in the industry, and they might just give you, some additional time for you to meet the requirements. Let's say
Mhm.
something happened, things are going very slow, and in the first 9 months, you couldn't hire your first employee. You can just ask additional time. There is an advocacy part, which we do, if needed. But once again, they know that you're trying to do business in a completely different country, and you know better than me. The doing business in North America is a bit different than doing business in Europe or Middle East.
Yeah, of
So
course.
they know that there is a bit time, there is a room for you to get adapt,
Of
etc.
course.
So.
Interestingly enough, I was reading a research a couple of weeks ago that compared the job creation of foreign nationals, foreign-born
Mm,
nationals in Canada versus
mm,
Canadian-born counterparts. It was very interesting that uh, typically foreign-born nationals are more entrepreneurial than their Canadian-born counterparts, with one caveat. It takes typically 4 to 7 years for
mm.
them to kind of really establish themselves,
Yeah.
right? So that's a very, very interesting point to think about when as policymakers, they're kind of looking at the success of different programs and how much job it created, I think this is very, very important, and what I like about personally provincial programs versus, let's say, startup visa is that startup visa it feels really streamlined, like there's no, it's a very opaque, when you send the application, it's very hard to get a hold of someone and tell them, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And to our knowledge, even the process is not as transparent, even for the designated organizations. And but when you deal with the province, it's typically a human being that you get
Exactly.
connected with, and that you can work details out. Obviously, you have to be respectful, and there's no, you can't expect them to treat you any differently or any favoritism. But that human touch, is greatly appreciated, especially when you're working with international entrepreneurs that kind of want to
Yeah,
come to Canada.
I think it's a great point. So, just so our like viewers know, once again, you can either purchase a business or you can build your own business from scratch. But um, my opinion is the rationale behind these programs are, we all know there are very reputable journals that release this warning that there is a tsunami of baby boomers.
Yes.
There are a lot, especially in East
Successions. Yeah.
Coast. There are a lot of business owners that want to retire and they put their business on sale like over a year ago, 2 years ago, and nobody's buying them. Uh, these programs kind of want to ensure that there are foreign entrepreneurs ready to invest and purchase
Yes.
these programs, so these businesses don't die, and the employees working at these businesses continue relying on those businesses for their livelihood. So the respective departments in the provinces dealing with these applications, they are actually very understanding.
Yeah.
They know the risk that you're taking, and they want to accommodate you as much as they can. They can't do everything that you ask for, obviously, but they're pretty flexible. For example, BC's, even like Nova Scotia's, their process is pretty streamlined. There is a very detailed guidelines. You follow them. As long as you follow them, it's perfect. But there is a pool. You still have to submit your proposal,
Yes.
and you still have to collect some points. It's not like as competitive as other immigration programs. But for example, for Manitoba, which I have one client that has invested over $1 million and is doing heavy parts trade, and this client is already within the province. They already live there. They took the risk to invest over $1 million, and now we are working with the province, and they're actually helpful. It's not like, and they know business. It's not like regular officer review these applications as they review personal immigration application. They know business, so they're understanding.
Okay. So going back to the question, Farouk, from that nomination perspective, like point of view, to receiving a permanent residency, what are we talking about? Is it like, uh, let's say if I apply for a nomination, provinces are typically like agile and fast to issue the nominations, to my understanding, right? Maybe like budget another 3 months, 4 months.
Depends on the BC is a bit slow.
Yeah,
That's
I've
what
heard.
we know, but others are pretty quick. Um, because obviously they want you to execute your plan. So there's a uh, cash entry to the
Yeah,
economy, to
yeah,
local economy. Um, but I would say that process also takes a few months,
yeah.
depending on the province. But once they do issue it, once you are issued the nomination, you're basically done with the province. The next step is to apply to the federal government,
Yeah.
Immigration Canada. This application is also, some applicants think that, okay, I got the nomination, and now I don't need to show my
Bye bye.
efforts. Yeah, it's just halfway through, let's say.
Yeah.
You still, Immigration Canada, IRCC doesn't actually go very deep into the business aspect of the application, but they still want to make sure you did in fact met the requirements of the province.
Of course.
They want to make sure you don't have any admissibility issues. The risk, the refusal risk for these applications, I would say very low, as long as you don't have any admissibility issues, and as long as you work with the province, you meet the all eligibility criteria.
So can they expect another visit from the province during this
No,
period?
no.
Okay. All right.
But they should expect request letters from IRCC. If, let's say, IRCC might just want to also know how is it going, tell me the history of your business ownership experience in that
And
province.
that process takes roughly like less than 2 years, right? From nomination to PR for these
Oh,
applications.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's usually, I would say, d- depending on the time that you submit the application. For example, right now it's around 14 months, but it definitely takes less than 2 years.
Okay, so
That's
let's
for sure.
map the journey for some foreign national that's living, let's say, like in Turkey, for this example. You kind of put together your business plan. You apply for a letter of support. You get that, apply for your work permit. Let's say this whole process, and you land in Canada within the year, right?
Mhm.
So at that point, you have 9 months to start. Let's say you take your time, like 3 months, 4 months, you start. That's
Mhm.
the clock starts, at that point.
Mhm.
And then you have a year to get your nomination, let's say,
Yep.
like, right, give or take, and then another 14 months uh, or so to get your PR,
Exactly.
right? So if you are in Canada already, this is a very efficient pathway for your PR because technically you're 2.5 years, give or take, away from your permanent residency,
Exactly.
right? And then also you're
I mean,
about
if you're
the
in Canada, that preparation period, finding the business, etc.,
it's
it
a lot
takes less
easier.
because you
Yeah,
can, and it's actually encouraged by almost all provinces that you do a
yeah,
exploratory visit.
exploratory
You
visit.
do
Yeah.
that. You, let's say, find the business you want to purchase, or you talk with local partners to understand how fast you can build your own business. Let's say if you're
Right.
building it from scratch, but that process takes much less.
So basically from the time that you arrive in Canada, or if you're already in Canada, you have to budget around 2.5 years that you have to be in the province and actively running and managing the business. And but if you are okay with this, then this is right now a lot faster than a startup visa. For example, a startup visa is 52 months the
Yeah.
last I checked. So yeah, like it's interesting.
Which I find very ironic because startup visa program is for startups,
Yeah.
and it's against business
Yeah.
norms for a startup to stay
Yeah.
as startup for 4 years,
Yeah,
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, that's a topic for another session. But so yeah, that's a very important timeline to keep in mind. So that's the minimum amount of time that you're committing to a province. So as Farouk mentioned, these are for provinces that really don't have that, like it's not too competitive to come out of the pool, right? So
Mhm.
it might take a little bit longer for British Columbia. I know it's sometimes it's a lengthier process.
Yeah.
It's because there's more competition.
For example, in Nova Scotia's pool right now, there are only 34 applicants.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so it's really good.
Yeah.
But I know like New Brunswick has a very good program.
Yeah.
Alberta has a couple of really good provincial programs, and Manitoba, as you mentioned, like it's very interesting. So tell me, like Farouk, how, like let's say like during that 1 year, they have to spend they have to spend that 250, 150, whatever it is. Like they have to show expenses to that tune. That's the most
Mhm.
important point, right?
Mhm.
Rather than the revenue, the most important point is showing the expenses.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and the most common question I get from clients is, okay, let's say the investment amount, let's say for British Columbia, it's
Yeah.
$250,000 Canadian. Um, they think, okay, I'm gonna purchase a restaurant that is 5 years old, it's profitable,
Yeah.
and I want to purchase this and pursue permanent residence. They think the the purchase price for the restaurant has to be 250K plus all the expenses they have to make. It's not like that. So depending on the province, most provinces accept a certain time of operational expenses towards this amount. Let's say
6 months, I
your
think. Yeah.
exactly. So for New Brunswick, 6 months.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it's the same
perfect.
for
Yeah.
BC as well. Or let's say you have to. Let's say it's a restaurant, but within the restaurant you want to build a small coffee shop,
Yeah.
right? Let's say you want to buy a big coffee maker, let's say,
Yeah.
and you know that they're not cheap.
Right. Oh,
They're
yeah.
at least
I know.
30, 40K.
Yeah.
So let's say the business you purchased, the restaurant you purchased is 190K,
Yeah.
but you purchased that coffee machine for 40K,
So
plus you made some
question though,
renovations, etc.
I actually one of my clients asked this as well. For maybe you can shed some light on this. So let's say a client wants to buy some machinery, from China, okay, like that they want to create a little like dairy plant or something, so these machinery are gonna like get built and prepped in China. It's still like it's a lot more cost effective, and frankly, like for many of these machinery that we don't have the tools to make them here, and that's one of the challenges that everybody raises with President Trump's, like this back to
Tariffs, yeah.
manufacturing, movement. It's just we don't have the capability for a lot of these heavy machinery to do it in North America. But how can that invoice show itself? Can they pay? Do they have to transfer the money to Canada first and then pay from their Canadian bank account? Or can they purchase, from their home market and then like export it to Canada and then show that as an investment to the province?
No, the Canadian business has to pay that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's very important point. So you have to like whatever the investment amount is, like 150, 250, you have to put it in the if you're starting a business, obviously, you
Yeah.
have to put it in the bank account of the business and then receive an invoice, pay for the invoice, and then record that as. But that invoice can be international. They can pay like
Yeah,
a
I mean,
supplier in China.
I don't think they're gonna be as strict as we think about it, but obviously you or your Canadian business has to pay this amount. But let's say there is a reason, and objectively nobody can question that you have to make that the you have to make that payment from, let's say, another country, maybe embargoes, etc. For some reason that for like business wise they can't question it. We can ask for an exception, but obviously you or your business has to spend that money from
Okay.
Canada.
Okay, understood. So that's a very important point. But this is also, you're basically buying an asset. So basically, your investing is not only goes into, just running operating costs, but you can actually buy a tangible physical asset that you can really
For sure.
sit on,
For sure.
like for your business. And if you down the road want to relocate your business, let's say from New Brunswick to Toronto, you can put that coffee machine in the back of your truck, and then come
Exactly.
start your cafe in Toronto, right? And
Exactly.
and that's something that it's gonna be owned by you, and it probably is gonna even raise in price by the time you want to come to
Exactly.
Toronto.
But obviously, provinces don't want you to leave.
Of
The
course.
idea is that they welcome you to their province for you to invest and continue living for a long time. But once you get your PR, for some reason that you have to move out, there is nothing legal preventing that.
Yeah.
But obviously, we are partners with provinces. We will
Yeah,
never
but
recommend
Farouk, short
anything.
of a heartbreak, like what's the tool at the disposal of a province? I think, like we have to really think about this question more than forcing people, but incentivizing people. If
Exactly.
if there is incentives for businessmen and businesswomen to uh to stay in a province, like they would, right?
And they
So
should. Yeah.
and they should. But at the same time, it's just that sometimes it might also make sense for them to make that move, for
Yeah.
business wise as well, or
Or
open up a new
family
branch.
obligations,
Yeah, of
etc.
course, of course. But like long story short, we have to have a genuine business for at least like 2.5, 3 years. So you have to budget that if this is not going to make any money for you, you have to maintain it and maintain that one FTE, the full time employee at least,
Exactly.
for this period.
Exactly.
Right? So it's better for you to do something that's gonna make money as well, just so it makes this time, like, bearing the time,
Exactly.
also easier on your side. um okay. Yeah.
But if we wrap up, I think why I think these programs are amazing, and I think one of the rarest type of programs that offer the best option for international entrepreneurs in the world, in my opinion, that you don't spend a lot of money. 150K or 250K is nothing, um, if you think about what you're getting
Yes.
in return. You get permanent residency in Canada, one of the best countries in the world,
To
in my
live in and to
opinion,
build a business,
probably
of course.
the best country in the
Yeah,
world
yeah,
to do business, to live,
yeah.
and to raise your children.
Absolutely.
Your spouse gets the permanent residency. Your children get permanent residency, and once you get permanent residency and spend 3 years in Canada, you're eligible to apply for citizenship, and then so we can assume that you're gonna get your citizenship in, let's say, 4 years after you obtain your permanent residency, and you do this by just investing 150K in a
200.
beautiful province, actually.
Of course. And what I try to do a lot also differently is that, because everyone comes to Canada and they think, oh, Toronto, like, Vancouver, or for some, oh, Montreal, the ones that speak French. Like, the Canada is a very, very large country, a vast country. It's beautiful. Go to I've been to, like, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia a couple of times. It's gorgeous, and
Yeah,
you
especially
can,
Nova Scotia
yeah,
is
you can live a
beautiful.
beautiful life, and
Ocean,
yeah, you
nature.
have the nature, you have the ocean, the weather is nice. Newfoundland is a little
Nature
bit.
is better than Ontario. There's no
Yes,
doubt.
I
BC's
agree.
nature is
Oh,
also
BC is like
definitely there.
breathtaking, definitely. Like,
Exactly.
BC, I think, is like,
And actually,
top in the world. Like,
for
it's
sure,
it's just
I
like,
agree.
you're like, is this real? So that
But for
beautiful.
our viewers to understand, I can confidently say, for example, over 90% of my entrepreneur clients that
Yeah,
are over 40, over the age of 45, that have children, they don't live in Toronto. Because Toronto is a difficult city to raise your children. It's not like it's dangerous or anything like that. It's just chaotic. Toronto
yeah,
is like New York,
yeah,
London, Istanbul, like all those cities. Toronto is
yeah,
very chaotic.
yeah,
So they shouldn't be. I always tell my clients, you shouldn't be scared of other provinces.
yeah.
They are beautiful places to live in.
Of course. Uh, and what I also, like, find is that the it's easier to, probably, force yourself to integrate with other cultures. That's because I did my master's in a smaller city. When you don't have, like, that big, Persian community, or Turkish community, or Chinese community, then of course you need your own community. You feel welcomed and everything, but that also, kind of puts you in a situation that you kind of have to make friends with
Exactly.
others, right? And
Speeds up the adoption period. Yeah.
absolutely. So, and like, these, provinces, the other provinces, like the cities, that, like they have a really beautiful community. You can easier get a hold of, like, the Chamber of Commerce. You can, and like the
For
province,
sure.
it's,
They
yeah,
are very supportive.
very
They are
supportive.
actually grateful for your investment.
Absolutely.
One thing that our viewers should know, that again, they need it, and all those institutions, Chamber of Commerce's, small entrepreneurship clubs,
Yeah.
etc., even government
They
authorities,
have a
they are
folksy kind of, approach to everything.
for sure.
For them, you're not just one number in many. You're special.
Exactly.
You've selected them.
You're
You
giving
want
them a business that your children can do
exactly.
internships.
Yeah.
Your children can work for, during summer.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. So it's really, like, from a business perspective, and I think it's probably easier to make it also in a
Mhm.
smaller
I agree.
cities than in Toronto, because it's just so much. The costs are very high. Like the cost to rent, the cost to hire. Like, and it's very competitive in pretty much every business that you want to get in. but the beauty of it is that, especially like, and I tell if my clients, you want to do something that has something to do with exports, you know, maybe like if you're on the two sides, you know, on the Atlantics or BC, let's like create some, depending on your market,
Yeah.
you know, it's very, like now Canada has really good bilateral talks with EU, you know,
Yeah.
to lower the tariffs, you know. If you want to send something from Canada to Europe, it's probably like gonna get it easier as well.
Exactly.
Or if your market is in China or Asia, then like also from BC, it's like a
It's easier
probably an
to
easier
yeah.
pathway. It's just in general much cheaper to send products on ocean than on road. You know, in Canada, it's gonna be very expensive if you want to ship from, let's say, Toronto to BC.
Exactly.
It's a lot easier to ship.
That's why
Yeah.
grocery store prices are a bit more expensive in New Brunswick, in
Yeah,
those provinces, because logistics is a
it's
huge
very,
step.
yeah, it's a little bit of a barrier. Okay, so that's great. I think we got kind of a, a very round 360 view of what the process kind of looks like, and what entrepreneurs should pay attention to when they're thinking about these different provincial programs. I think it's very important. I want to end with this, that we educate the entrepreneurs, but also educate the you know, their consultants, lawyers about these programs, because often they, because it's unfamiliar, they
Yeah.
and there's the documents are a little bit, you know, boring and cumbersome, you
Yeah.
know, they don't kind of want to make sense of it,
Yeah.
and
I
they
mean,
kind of,
compared to, for example, federal immigration programs,
yes,
it's not like you submit your documents and you
yeah,
get that. No,
yeah,
it's you're working with the province continuously.
yes,
That's what they want. Actually, it's on purpose.
yes.
That it's designed like that, and I think it's in favor of applicants.
Yeah, and what do you like if you were the applicant? You know, put yourself in the shoes of the applicant. What do you look for in a representative when you are
Mm.
selecting one? What are the characteristics that?
Actually, this is a very good question, and I love answering this. So, business immigration programs are not very widely used in Canada. Even the consultants, immigration lawyers, they know personal immigration programs, PR pathways very well, but they might not be very they might not know these programs properly, or in detail. And let's say they do, because in like any personal immigration program, study permits, PR, express entry, all the official guidelines are online and publicly accessible. As a business immigration lawyer, I don't have a special access or special people inside that I know, etc. Everything is publicly accessible. The what sets me, I can confidently say that, because or good business immigration lawyer, or the consultant that works in this area, is that we have experience in a lot of industries. We've worked with good businesses. We work with maybe less profitable businesses. We work with entrepreneurs that want to do things differently. So it looks risky initially, but we were able to navigate that process with confidence and with patience. Uh, we've seen, obviously, we've gotten some refusals in the past, and we dealt with them. Obviously, as lawyers, we do everything to protect our clients' interests. We do federal court applications, judicial reviews to defend their rights, to defend their investments. Um, but that's basically what sets us apart. That
Mhm.
we've been in this industry. This is what we do. This is what we specialize in, and uh, honestly, experience, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. And I think, you know, another important factor that I think it's important for entrepreneurs to take into consideration is that you wanna. This is going to be a lengthy process, perhaps, you know, so it's going to require some patience, but also I think it's important for you to work with people that care. They really want to make a difference in your
Exactly.
life. They prioritize your needs other than over the margins, or the ease of doing something. And coming to you from a point of understanding you,
Exactly.
and appreciating the fact that you're basically like taking a very big huge decisions, because often it's so easy to forget. We did that too. I came here as a student myself, so it wasn't much of a relocation like efforts that I had to do. Just came, arrived with a suitcase. But I sometimes think about our clients, like there's so many different aspects that goes into their. So yeah, so like you want to work with people that care about you, that they always maintain that personal touch. They don't like basically try to upsell you on different programs. So, and then obviously you want to work with licensed professionals. So
Mhm.
go
Oh,
check
that's
their
very important.
license in RCIC or the bar association and make sure that they're in good standing. They don't have anything kind
Exactly.
of shady in their background. So
Exactly.
that's also very
Yeah,
important.
unfortunately, this is you have to do that diligence.
Yeah.
Nobody else can do that due diligence.
Yeah, of course, because
With
if
you.
someone is up to some shady business, they're not gonna come forward and say, "Hey, go check RCAC."
Yeah, I mean, but again, like we do see a lot of fraud, unfortunately, in immigration industry. But I don't see, for example, a lot of fraud in like business immigration side because
Yes,
entrepreneurs know what they're doing. If
exactly.
they're
They're
gonna
smart people,
exactly, they're probably
sophisticated.
smarter than us.
Yeah,
If they're gonna invest that amount of money, they
yeah,
know who to work with and what to do,
yeah,
on
for
how to verify it, etc.
for sure. Okay, thank you so much for
Of course,
coming.
thank you for having me.
Of course, thanks for watching us. Please give us a follow. It doesn't cost you anything, but it makes us feel really, really happy. And please share this video with your fellow entrepreneurs if you found the discussion today useful. And we look forward to hearing from you. Write to us at info@nextstars.io or hit a message at our LinkedIn or Instagram page. Thank you, and until the next time.